Hey, what's up, guys? It's your boy Arrow, and we got Sagun and Franz. Welcome to Lunar Nation. In today's episode, we have as I mentioned, episode three. We're going to talk about a dying Japan.
Yeah, so today we're going to be talking about Japan's population and why it's shrinking. So actually, for the first time since the government started keeping track of their population, I think it was like almost 100 years ago, so about a century ago. Um, the company's been experiencing a decline in their population. Actually, for the past 10 years, they've been seeing a decline, and every year it seems like it's been increasing. I believe the statistics for 2021, they were down a total of 640,000 people in total for the population. So we're going to discuss in this podcast, today's episode, different reasons why Japan is a very developed country and very prosperous, but they're experiencing a lot of internal issues. So we're going to talk about some of those issues today and what they're experiencing and whatnot. I know Sagun had a few articles I know that we read or videos that we saw about. So we're going to dive deep into that and discuss more about it.
Yeah, so thanks Franz for that intro. So I was just like very fascinated. I watched one of the videos on YouTube about the dying Japan, and I found out that in the country's last fertility surveys, figures show that like quarter of women in their 30s were single. So that shows you the fact that it's in the decline, and half of them weren't even interested in having a relationship in the first place. And also, it's estimated that by 2040, nearly half of the Japan's population is going to be single as well. So you can see how this trend is going from based off what we're saying. So
Yeah. I heard something about that too. It's interesting because everyone when we think of Japan, we always I mean I think everyone always thinks of Tokyo and like the island. Japan for known for like a lot of their anime or a lot of their vibrant things that
technology,
they do.
yep.
But I feel like that overshadows a lot of the issues we have that they have, which is obviously their low population. And actually, I believe what was the statistics? I think it was about 33%. So one in every three Japanese is actually over 65. So compared to the United States, so Japan's total population, according to online, is roughly 125 million people, and United based on comparing it to United States has I think was around 330 million people, give or take a few million. But Japan's population is one in three people, so about 32% are over 65, compared to United States, which is only 16%, one in seven Americans. So um, I think I wouldn't say the main issue, but from based on research and what we've seen, a lot of this issue of Japan having being a dying country per se, quote unquote. I think it stems to that they had I know they talked about it a lot. They had a market bubble or like a crash, kind of like how we had in like 2008. They had a big market crash in their country. I think it was like late 1880s. I think it started from like
In the
1980.
1980s,
yeah,
it
my
goes like
bad. Yeah,
200
you're right,
years.
right. I couldn't. I confused it by over 100 years. Yeah, it was 1986 it started and it lasted for about give or take a few months. I think it lasted from like 1991, but that really caused an issue in people because before that, I know a lot of the elderly folks that obviously were in their 40s and 50s at that time, and even younger. They were more vibrant. People were going out. Engaging in activities, and then after that, I feel like that 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 bubble or that market crash really like changed everyone's mentality and got them scared, and a lot of people started to focus more on the workforce than on personal life or having like a work life balance. And I mean, I don't know if a lot of people know, but I know Arrow and Segun knows that the Japanese culture and the people are really like focused on their work and they really take pride in that, which is a good thing, But also, I think too much of everything can lead to the demise. So I know Japanese culture they like to work these long hours, but look at the long run, it's taking a toll on their population and their country as a whole. They're leading towards a decline, which is not looking good. And I know it's also these long work hours is leading to loneliness. I know Arrow has more to talk about that, and a lot of people being lonely or awkward or scared to engage with other people.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So I think as part of like the side effects of declining population, some individuals may have like no family member left. Perhaps they moved on and died, obviously. And what happens is, like old folks in Japan, they actually get so lonely that it's like a depression kind of form where I believe it's projected to be like a million people, where they go to grocery shop just to talk to someone. It's as simple as that. They're that lonely, and even bigger than that phenomenon is the fact that these lonely people, since they have no caretakers and nobody to watch after them, if they die, nobody knows they're dead. So there's a whole new industry in Japan where there are people that actually like go scouting to make sure that either A, they're alive, or B, they're dead, and they take their bodies out of their the places they live.
Wow, that's
Yeah,
crazy. So they do like
that is crazy.
search parties for people that are making sure that they're still alive, living in their homes.
I guess so. Yeah, don't quote me on this, but for a fact, I know that some of these individuals that are lonely and they die, like nobody finds out they're dead until the smell comes out.
Wow,
Right,
that's
right.
So
crazy.
so it's crazy. But to bring a more interesting point, going back to like a dying Japan, when we watched this documentary, it was quite interesting to see like the village, the town where it went. I guess at the time it was 225 people, and then went
Oh
down to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
25
yeah. It was
people.
actually
Yeah,
almost 300 people, actually, almost.
Yeah, and what's more interesting is like I guess there's a caretaker or something that wants to reminisce about the past, makes these individual dolls for every person that used to live. I guess they all died, which is
yeah.
kind of crazy.
Yeah, it feels kind of creepy. I mean, when I was looking at it from that perspective, I mean, just to have dolls trying to, I guess, replicate the human nature, to represent human beings, it looks like it's from like a movie, to be honest, for me.
Yes. So my question in this scenario is like, okay, so we see Japan's population is definitely on a decrease. It seems like 33% of the population is over the age of 65. But then as a millennial, like we look at it like, oh, okay, what led to that? Like, well, how did it develop to such a drastic like older population versus younger population? Like, what did the older population do? Did they so like when we looked at the documentary, we realized that Japanese culture is heavily influenced by like the work, like do work. I guess it's more than 40 hours. I think it's like a lot more than 40 hours a
Yeah, it
week.
is. It is.
And
Yeah, I feel like if you work 40 hours, they frown upon you. They want you to work more than 40
They have
hours.
they have
You
yeah,
know.
really high expectations. That's
so
the
Right.
thing.
so for example, if suppose this 1980, the bubble that blew up in Japan in 1980. So right now is what, 2022. Where's that, 42 years ago? So that means 42
No, that's
years
like
ago.
it was like 30 years ago. Because
uh
it said it's technically it went from like 86 to like 91, so like a good 5 years. So
so okay, even
that's like
36, yeah, so
like 30. We'll call it 30 years. We'll call it
okay,
30
even
Yeah,
years.
30 years, hypothetically, even 30 years, which I mean, it's not 30 years, but it's a little bit more. Even 30 years ago, so the population at the time, if this 33%, that means 65 years of age. So they were average age of 30 years old. So these people were 30 years old. That means hypothetically that these people did not have enough time to have either A, children or more children, that caused so in return, when they didn't have more children, the individuals that grew up were less like they had less children to cover the amount of people that are in the workforce.
Right,
So
right. It basically create like a domino effect.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
yeah.
Now we see this like I don't know if you remember when the person in the documentary mentioned that in 1 year they lost 1.4 million people, and then to replace that they only the birth rate was 900,000. So there were 500,000
Wow.
negative just that year. To
Yeah, I
give,
remember that. I remember that part. And then, like you said, right, over time, it's just the number is gonna just keep going down, down, down to the point that like they might not even have enough people to replace anyways because they're just doing this policy of
Right, right.
working hard.
So the question is, so we see that they have a dying population, and like I said earlier, it's been happening for just over 10 years now, and I think it's still projected to keep on going down the way things are going. But I mean, in your guys' opinion, I mean, what do you think that they could do to change this, or do you think it's going to be, because I mean they still have a lot of people, but still out of 125 million people that they have in their population, 33% of them are over 65. So they're not in the workforce. You know, they're not going to have children again. They're just, you know, pretty much living their lives out, you know, for retirement. And like Masood said, some of them are experiencing loneliness, not just the older population, but even the younger population. So it seems like everyone, it doesn't matter. It doesn't discriminate against what age you are, but like everyone's experiencing this loneliness. So what do you guys think that they could probably do to, you know, reverse these effects that they're facing, or do you think that this is just going to continue on until, you know, one day it's just going to bounce back from that?
Yeah, so I'll just jump in really quick. So I was just thinking maybe they could just educate the younger children about like what's happening, right? You show them the trends, like show them like what's about to happen in the first place, and maybe encourage them that just being single or like it's gonna cause this kind of effect. I know it might increase like production and like workforce and everything, but your whole country, your whole economy, everything might you never know, right? With lower population and stuff, it might go down. So
Right, right, because
I,
their economy might be booming now if they have a lot of people. I mean,
exactly.
not a lot of people, but if they have people putting in hours and overtime, and I don't even think that, because I think that so I know in the 1970s they had more jobs available than they had people to fulfill it, but they were obviously able to catch up with demand over time. But I know that they're experiencing demand issues now, where I mean, I'm sorry, there's more demand than there are people. So there's, I think the statistics is, per every 100 people that is getting a job, there's 61 other job openings available that are still vacant and not being fulfilled.
Yeah,
So I know another issue is because, so I know one of the issues being that their economic uncertainty caused, how, you know, was a cause in their population decrease. But I know that Japan, being that it's an island, they are also very, they're not immigrant friendly. So I know they have a lot of like regulations, um, in regards to immigration or migration, people coming in and whatnot. And I know to get in there and, you know, work or whatnot, you had to have a work visa, and it's only, I mean, I think for the past few years, it's only been around like 300,000. And I know there's a lot of people that go there, as far as work visas, but I think that if Japan was, you know, to open up their borders maybe a little bit more, and let in other foreigners come in. You know, probably that would help in, with their population increase. What do you guys think of that?
Okay, so going back to your first statement, uh, my opinion, as you realized, the mistake of 1980s was that people were being very productive at work. So the consumption amount of time that they spent was mostly at work. Therefore, they wouldn't have enough time to have families. So I think there should be um, a more focus on a work-life balance kind of culture. Granted, it might decrease the economy for short term, but for long term, I believe that the economy will be on a rising path. So, kind of like the great cultural revolution of China, where, I mean, yeah, granted, 30 million people died in the process, but what it was a phase where Mao Zedong of China ordered a certain amount of million of people from different areas to migrate elsewhere within China so that the population can spread. So within, like, if you remember, for Japan, most of their population, around 92% of their population, is focused in cities such as Tokyo, Nagasaki, and so on. But if they were to introduce an incentive program where more of their focus is to spread the population within the different regions of Japan and introduce a more of like, I guess if they could introduce a less heavy work kind of culture, more like maybe like I don't know, every Friday or every one time Friday they take off. That could give the people more opportunity to think about their psychological needs. And if you look at like Japan's phenomenon, lonelism, and people being like socially detached, that's a reason why like people are socially detached. Maybe because they're so heavily focused on all these books and all these technology that they're surrounded by, that they're not given enough focus, maybe like enough time to go and explore the outside world. Which kind of reminds me of the person who married the doll, if you guys remember that guy.
Oh.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I know they'd be doing stuff like that. I know actually. I think it was someone that this year they actually got married into the metaverse, or someone that got married into like I know you said the doll, but like actual tangible items, but non living. So um, that's crazy. But I do like your thought in regards to the like taking a day off for the week. I think Europe try to implement that. I don't think Europe's problem is working too much hours, because I know in Europe from what I know, I mean they have a pretty decent work life balance over there. But I know Europe, I think it was Europe or even the United States, maybe not the United States, but they were trying to incorporate doing like a 4 day work week instead of a five
Your
day work
voice
week.
sounds far. You gotta get that closer.
What
I
about now?
think
Can
you
you hear
went
me?
back to Tatooine, so I think he's
Yeah,
back.
yeah. Just make sure your voice is closer because it goes far in and out. So
What about now? Can you hear me?
yeah, you're good now. So just make sure.
All right, maybe I must have touched my headphones wrong or the plug. But what was I saying? So I was saying like in regards to that the example or theory that you were giving to in regards to that losing a work day on the week and only doing 4 days a week. So yeah, they work long hours, but they can put those long hours in the 4 days a week, and that take that Friday off for the week, or even a Monday or whatever it might be. So it can give them time to incorporate a work life balance and go out there and get to know their neighbors and their community, and put some time out there. So I think that would be a good idea. I don't know how well is I'm not sure what the government is planning on doing to change these actions. But it looks like they need to start acting soon, because, like I said, you got to make a sacrifice in the beginning for a benefit in the long run. Like you made an example with Mao Zedong and losing
Yeah.
30
So
million
so,
people.
so what I think, Japan, just looking at it, I think their heavy priority is the economy. But yet again, you have to stay balanced. You know what I mean? So I understand their focus is on economy and economic growth, but that comes with a side effect, which means like overproductivity. And if they were to, I guess, look at the other side of the viewpoint, where I would agree there's going to be small hits within the economy, but for the long term, I think it's going to be beneficial than negative, where they slow down the economy in terms of giving the people that time and opportunity to explore that the social atmosphere that would allow for the mentality to change, because right now with the overproductivity, that mentality of people, like, I mean, look at it, I think like women don't even want to marry. I'm not saying they have to marry, but it's just that it's a social phenomenon where they don't want to marry. And even the guy, the reason he married the doll, it's not that he couldn't marry a girl. I mean, he was traumatized definitely, because I think he mentioned that he was just bullied by girls. I don't know how he got bullied, but yeah, he got bullied. So therefore, he didn't really marry a girl, but he didn't want to deal with the social phenomenon, like the social aspects of this and that. So if Japan focuses its attention to the social well-being of its citizens, for example, like a country called Bhutan, I think Sagun, you know much about that country.
Yeah.
They heavily focus on happiness, and that kind of relates to like social, cultural, and population demographics. And it just one interesting thing I'm finding is, as technology grows, people um, have less kids, but
Right.
where areas there is no technology, these areas have like per family, I think they have like 5 kids. So it's kind of interesting to weighed both of them and just find a common denominator. But I'm not sure if technology keeps growing. I'm not sure if population increase is gonna be a factor.
Right, that is true. It seems like the birth rate in developed countries, just as the United States, Europe, Japan, Korea, for example, they experience a lot lower birth rates than they did before. Whereas in countries, such as like for example, African countries or some places in the Middle East or lower developed countries, they're still experiencing high population birth. So, um, I mean, we'll see what the future holds. Um, I want actually to go back on so in regards to like some of the solutions that Japan could have seen. So I know we were talking about creating like a work life balance, maybe working less. I think that when I was coming back to being that Japan is kind of as far as like overall country, it doesn't allow in a lot of immigrants. I think that if they were to fix their restrictions on migration and work visas, I think that would probably help boost their economy. And if they were able to figure out a way to give their people time off without affecting, I think their salaries or their benefits, and able to bring in more people from the outside to help with that productivity issue that they would foresee happening if they were to lower their workforce. I think that would help balance out or help be some sort of a solution in the beginning because you know like we were saying, if you don't have a work life balance, then it's just gonna destroy you. I mean, like I said, we were
Exactly.
seeing people being affected by loneliness, overworking, not interacting with family members, not having kids, and then overall just dying alone. Which is pretty sad. Not saying that everyone, but Japan is experiencing that in a heavy toll. So I think that if they were to fix their work life balance and probably fix their migration restrictions, I think that would slowly and steady see a better outcome for the future.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you, Franz, on that situation. I just want to add something too. I mean, it also has to be with the government control as well. So basically, like the government has to take charge upon this situation because they can't just completely let this happen. They probably know what's going on. They have all the experts, they have all the data, they're seeing it. They have to take initiative and be like, okay, so we're going to do this, we're going to mandate these different policies so that we don't have this issue going forward in the future. So that's kind of what I think. I mean, I don't know what they're gonna do in the future. I mean, it is like I said, right? By 2040, the rate is gonna go extremely down to the point that I like they really need help right now. They need help right now so that they can combat this issue so it doesn't happen in the future. Like what Franz is saying is that if you have like different migrations, I mean that might help, but that's still not the long-term solution in my opinion. You need your own working class citizens as well to contribute in your country to help combat this issue. You can be a productive country as well, but also have that balance. So that's what I had to say.
Okay. So here's my conclusion based on what I took from this understanding. I believe countries like Japan or any country that is headed towards that route, it should be heavily considered to take mental health as a priority. I get it that productivity is good, making money is good, and doing your job great is good, but it's important to stay balanced. It's not to lean on one side and then let forget about the other side. So what I see with Japan is they heavily put emphasis on work. I think that kind of like drained the energy of the people, whereas they didn't really have time to have kids. Or even if they did have kids, I think like those kids could be like socially detached from their parents, maybe like a psychologically not. I mean, you could say like they weren't appreciated as much probably, so they grew up a little bit different.
Become
But I think,
traumatized.
yeah, traumatized. So what I think Japan needs to do is they need to prioritize health, mental health, more importantly, and I think control technology. That's one thing that Bhutan did. Bhutan introduced an incentive where less they're less influenced by technology because they realized that if they introduce technology into their realm, I mean, there's always a positive, but there's always a negative, and the negativity could be like people will grow socially detached, and that's something that Japan is facing right now. And going forward, just like for example, comparing it to us, I mean, all these social medias and all these different aspects that we look at, they don't really bring us any benefits. It's just more of like a time consumption because we have nothing better to do. But I think in general terms, and a program, an incentive where it's more of like a camping incentive where they're people are all around each other and they're doing things with more with their hands than than looking at a TV screen is definitely going to be beneficial, and obviously introduce those labor revisions into their market that would increase their population. But I think they need to prioritize mental health as their number one priority, because if they don't, I mean, it's just going to be a social catastrophe.
Yeah, 100% agree with the concluding statement that you made. Um, Definitely sounds right. So, yeah, I mean, Sagun, do you have anything else to add or say in the conversation?
No, I think you guys did a really good job in
Awesome, awesome.
describing. So that's what I
Yeah,
was gonna
this
say as
this was
well.
an interesting topic to learn more about, and actually reading some articles and watching a documentary about it. So it was pretty interesting. I mean, I know Japan had an issue, but I don't know how big the issue was, and that it stemmed throughout the whole entire country, and it's actually affecting pretty much everyone in the nation. But yeah, I mean, I appreciate you guys. I want to thank my hosts, and I appreciate you guys tuning in. Be sure to check us out for the next episode, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, and also don't forget to follow and rate the podcast as well, as it will help us out. Thank you.